Today on EyeConnect, we're joined by Catherine Hutchison, a mother of 3 daughters, fundraiser and passionate advocate for families affected by ocular melanoma. Catherine's husband Neil was diagnosed with stage 4 ocular melanoma, and together they faced a journey of uncertainty, courage and deep love. We talk about determination and hope that their story will help others. She now works as a support and relationship engagements officer at Moorfields Eye Charity, where they connect donors, families and clinicians to life-changing research and support. In 2019, she took on an extraordinary challenge, walking part of the Sahara Desert, raising over £30,000 for our charity to help support our patients. Today, Catherine joins us to talk about love, loss, resilience, motherhood, and how one family's story continues to inspire hope in others. Kath, it's lovely to have you. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
I love the sign behind you. I think you said it's normally lighter lit up. Yeah, find me by the sea. That was Neil's motto, wasn't it?
Yes. Yeah. We just thought it's just brilliant. It sits in our dining room, and yeah, he's always here with us in the dining room.
It's fabulous.
Yeah.
So you are a mum of 3 stunning young ladies, and obviously life is very busy. Tell me about life before Neil got diagnosed.
So our youngest was 5. So we had 5, 8 and 9 were the girls. And I think Neil had kids so that he could be a kid. So it was so active of exercise and sports and activities and tough mudders and anything he could get those kids to do. He used to take them out and make them crawl in mud and just whatever he could find. And so it was just a really happy, busy household, of I think Neil took up skateboarding. Well, made the kids do skateboarding so he could learn aged 40 to skateboard and use that for an excuse. And it was just always active. It was just a really busy, active house. And yeah, it was lovely, really good.
And then you got hit with this really random cancer that no one's ever heard of. I remember when I first met Neil, he still had his eye. And he was able to look over to one side and show me you could actually see where the tumour was encroaching. Yeah. But that had been there for a while, hadn't it? The actual mole.
Well, I remember, so Neil loved a good old trip to the doctors for anything, and so he'd always had moles in his eyes as kids, got them checked out, it's like birthmarks. And then he'd had laser eye surgery. And then he said, I remember him saying, oh, my eyesight's getting worse. And I was just like, oh, you're fine, And he went to the opticians, and I remember them sending him straight to Moorfield. But at that point still, I don't think anyone's heard of anything that could possibly be bad. And then the consultant had got in touch on the Sunday saying, come back on the Monday. And I was like, that's really weird. Why would a consultant get in touch on a Sunday, And then Monday, I remember him phoning me up going, I've got cancer. And I stood in Marks and Spencer's just going, what? Like, it was so surreal that I was just a bit like, I have no idea what you're saying to me here. Like, I'm just carried on with my shop. I was just a bit like, yeah. So,
and the timeline from I've got cancer to they're going to take my eye out because he had his eye removed.
Yeah, so his had slowly grown down the side of his eye. So he didn't have that bit where he said, oh, my eyesight's gone a bit funny, it was already a huge tumour that had just grown. I think it was, I want to say 2 weeks. It all is a bit of a blur. I remember we took the kids to Centre Parks and thought, oh, we'll have a bit of time with them, with his 2 eyes. And that felt like it. It felt so quick. And then his eye was gone. And it was almost, trying to get your head around it. And Neil go, did I do the right thing? You haven't even had that much time to think, But yeah, it felt really quick.
It is. It's really quick, and obviously with young children at the time in the house, how did they cope with Daddy losing an eye? I mean, it's a big thing. It's quite scary to look at as
Yeah,
well in the beginning.
they were amazing. So uh, Neil always pretended to be a pirate, which is a weird thing. You know, he's full of full of energy.
Before,
Before, so he was like,
okay.
"I'm a proper pirate," and he had his patch, and he told them that a mole had gone funny in his eye and he'd had to have it removed, and that he was now a pirate. And maybe it was their age; they just went, "Okay, fine," and that was it. You know, like they didn't ever question any further beyond that. And he was, once he'd recovered, like that. Yes, it was scary to look at. I guess scary at the beginning. You know, when you haven't got your new eye in,
Yeah.
but the kids were fine. Like. It genuinely amazed me that they were sort of went, yeah, okay. I think they were a lot happier once he had the prosthetic put in. But
Oh,
yeah,
I mean, it is. Kids are so resilient.
yeah.
And I remember Neil coming here and my children on the sofa saying, "So which eye is it?" And he said, "Oh, I've got to do this." He flicked out his car key and tapped it.
I know. It still makes me go through me when he does, like.
Yeah, they always remember that. And then he got the stage 4 card, which
Yeah,
is a bit
yeah.
rubbish.
And it was a strange one because, so I remember at the time they'd they'd sent off his eye to be checked, and it came back as um, inconclusive. And Neil was like, "Oh, I don't know what that means." So we sent it off to, I think it was Liverpool,
Yeah.
to be checked again. And I remember sat in with Mandeep Sagu, and him going, yeah, it's all the worst markers you could have. It seemed like Neil had. And I remember sat there going, have you got any, is there like a shining light? You know, like that bit of that glimmer. And he was like, unfortunately, no, there isn't. And you go from going, oh, we've just had an eye removed and it's all fine and cancer's out, to having this weight that's just been put on you, you know, with not many solutions, which was, yeah, tough.
And literally, it is a weight. So I think I recall seeing his prognosticator, and it was 82% within 5 years,
Yeah,
pretty much guaranteed that he
yeah,
was going to get Mets somewhere in his body.
yeah.
And where was his first one? Because I know he had a lot outside of the liver as well. Where was his first extraocular cancer detected?
So he was on 3 monthly scans, and he'd gone at the end of January for his scan and it was clear. And he'd gone in May, and they said it was in his bones, muscles, liver, skin, do you know, it was so many, and stomach. But it literally presented as a smorgasbord of cancer everywhere, and which
And
was not what we'd ever been told would happen. You know, it's sort of, it will go and it will arrive in the liver and you'll do this stage and then you'll do this stage, you know, and instead Neil's just erupted.
okay.
Mm.
And life with that changed dramatically, or is this when Neil turned to kind of, okay, this is going to be quick. Let's do what we can as a family. I mean, what brought you to?
He never accepted that he would die of this. Like it was always, he was just like, right, okay, what's my treatments? And he was able to do Ipi-Nuvo and then
Benefirst, yeah.
Tebentafusp. And he was really excited that he could do this Tebentafusp because it was quite new. And he was like, great, let's do that. You know, and he never really had that kind of oh, this is it. It was always okay, right, what am I doing? And I remember Peter just being like, can you not cycle to your appointments? And, because he was changing his markers by cycling. And he would say, the amount of cancer you've got in your body, I shouldn't be telling you not to cycle to your appointments. But he was so just, come on, let's do this. And he'd had that first round of tebentafusp and ipi, and it cleared it pretty much. And I don't know if you remember that.
Yeah, I do.
And we'd gone from going, okay, potentially we've got, afterwards, Peter said he thought he had about 6 weeks when he'd seen him after the initial, seen how it presented in him, to it pretty much disappearing. And we're like, what? Like, so we've done it. Like, we've, over the course of the summer, then this is it. Like, we can actually put this, what has been a 5-year ordeal, behind us. And we went on holiday and we were just like, we couldn't believe it. And then it was exceptionally quick afterwards. That was like the end of October. We went on holiday. And by December, it was, we don't know where to go with you now. Like, we don't know what we can do. And I think that roller coaster was so hard. That kind of, oh, actually, this is going really well. Maybe someone's given us our first bit of hope. And then there wasn't hope. And then he did a chemo that they didn't know might work, but Neil pressed for absolutely everything. And that made him feel really sick. That was January. And then it was just a case of trying to get on trials. And I think that was probably the most heartbreaking bit of it all. Mm.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot more trials available now. There are drugs that have been, Tebi is now NHS approved and readily available to everybody who's HLA positive. So I know he was involved in the very early days of that. So, which is wonderful. And it was quick. And then we lost him.
Yeah.
And there was just this space. And I know his mum was very heavily involved in advocating for his care and treatments. And after Neil had passed, she continued tirelessly within, because I know she was just thinking there must be something out there somewhere. And we still see her in groups, and she still copies something from America or copies something from Australia and posts it into our group. And Catherine, you went on to now work for the Moorfields Eye Charity.
Yes,
How did that come about, and what do you do?
So before Neil got sick, I was just looking after the kids. And then we were like, right, you need to get back to work in case something did happen. So I worked in fundraising, helping kids from disadvantaged backgrounds. And then after Neil died, it was a lot, so I left work and I had some time out for myself. And I kept thinking, I want to do, I want to be still in fundraising. And I was looking at jobs that were, helping kids through grief, or anything where I felt I could put my skill set to something that I've experienced and can make a difference. And then Moorfields came up and I was like, oh my goodness, like, I almost got too excited. It felt such fate. I remember I cried in my interview, which, I mean, I don't know why they hired me. um, on the last question of why do you want to do this job? And I talk about Neil all the time, and sometimes I cry and sometimes I don't, and it all, just whatever it is. But the thought of the fact that I could work for a charity that is looking at scientific research, the thing that we needed, the bit more time, where the next trial's coming up, like something that Neil was so passionate about, and Maureen, and I could go, actually, I can put my skills to that. It just, it felt amazing to be able to even go and have an interview for it. And I work as their donor relations. Well, support is a long title, supporter engagement and relations officer. So it's how someone goes on a journey with the charity. Like, with Ocular, you want someone engaged, you want them to feel part of it, you want them to feel that they're making a difference and that they're valued and supported. So that's what I do with Moorfields.
Well, they're very, very lucky to have you. And along your fundraising journeys, I
Yeah.
seem to recall this young lady in front of me here decided to embark upon the Sahara. Um, can you tell us, a little bit about it, what it was actually like, how you managed to kind of get, if anyone else wants to do something ridiculous like that, I mean, how did it come about? And you raised so much money for Ocular Melanoma UK. We're really, really grateful. But yeah, so go on.
So we finding out that Mandeep Sagoo conversation where they say, doom and gloom. And it was, so what do we do now? What do I do? What did I do for my mental health, And getting out and walking every single day was so good. So I was like, I always like to go big. So I was like, I need a challenge. And I saw the Sahara. And it just felt like I couldn't control anything. I couldn't stop what was coming down the line, but I could make a difference, and actually I think I raised so much money because I think friends and family, they also want to show that they're with you, it gives them an outlet to go, I've got you, Kath, I've got you, Neil, like,
Yeah.
let's do this. So yeah, I went there. I was pretty scared. But I was scared about random things like, will I be able to sleep because I'm really worried that a scorpion is going to go into my tent or a spider. It was basically all around animals, basically.
And did you meet
And
any animals?
no,
Well,
no, nothing. Like I still say it is the best thing I've ever, ever, ever done. Like it was just amazing. Like I would love to go back and do it again. But then I think the reason it was so good was because I didn't meet the scorpions and spiders. But next time I could meet the scorpions and spiders, so maybe I just leave it as a.
yes. You got away scot-free that time. Yeah,
Exactly.
don't push your
Yeah,
luck. It was the right
yeah,
time to do it. And
exactly.
Neil and the girls at the time, because how long did it take you?
A week. So it's not you walk 100 kilometers of the Sahara,
Okay.
and yeah, so they just happily. It's quite nice. I was not in contact with them at all because I had no Wi-Fi or anything. So it was probably my most blissful week ever. So yeah.
Oh, bless you.
Um,
So, I mean, you share Neil's story, which has
yeah.
a kind of impact on others, and you're working now for the charity. So, are you still seeing, and this is a bit of a weird question, are you still seeing gaps in the care system at all? I mean, how do you
Yeah.
feel for people? Are you involved in the patient system at all, or is it just donors and fundraising?
So I'm only involved on the fundraising side. So I'm not seeing that side of things. So I don't, yeah, I don't know what, I can only talk from my own experience of what it felt like, being that other side and where gaps might be. But I think with a rare cancer, it's always going to be hard, than it is if you had a more, I was going to say popular's not the right word, is it?
No,
Popular cancer.
popular it
Mainstream.
is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
one of the normal cancers. I think I've also
yes,
heard it.
normal. That's it.
Yeah,
Popular probably is not a right word. Um, and I think it is. I found it disconnected because, and very luckily, we were private with the healthcare. But what that meant was we had one person in London that would look after Neil and nothing that was around our area, which made it very hard as Neil got sicker and sicker of where to go and what to do because there wasn't that kind of we didn't have a hub centre nearby or something that and lots of people that understood what Neil was going through.
yeah. I mean, you do find yourself wherever you go, that's new, I don't know, hopefully this didn't happen when you went down the hospice route, but you do end up explaining what you've got, how it came
Yes.
about. I mean, you tell the story
Yeah.
so many times
Yeah.
to so many people in the medical profession who thankfully don't come across this very
No.
often, because it is so rare. But moving forward, your young ladies are now how old?
So Layla turned 17 the other day. Emily is 15 and Willow is 12.
So is that going to be a driving experience?
Yes. I need another driver in the house, so she's got no choice. She needs to learn so that she can help me to ferry everyone around. Yes, it feels a big one, her turning 17, I have to say.
Yeah, I bet. And I would imagine it's probably going to be just as scary getting in the car with her as it was getting back in the car with Neil with one eye.
I never let Neil drive anyway, so I'm not a very good passenger. So I just, yeah.
Okay. Well, because it
Yeah.
makes you feel sick,
One
or you're
eye
just
or
a
two eye.
control freak?
I'm just a control freak. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's fair enough. And I mean, balancing the advocacy and motherhood with your own well-being. And obviously you're now making new memories. I see beautiful pictures of you and the
Yeah.
girls. And how do you keep Neil, apart from the big greenery behind you in the dining room? Is he spoken about kind of every day? I mean, I know you can see him in the children, obviously.
Yeah.
There's so much of him there, and I don't know, hopefully he'd be proud of them turning into young
Yeah.
ladies rather than being the mud
Yeah.
fiends that he
I think he'd still like them to be the mud spoons, but do you know what? We were really open with the kids they didn't know about it being cancer until it spread. And at that point we took advice, and we were so open with them. And Neil was so incredibly positive. Like, even in the hospice, I was trying to get them to get an ambulance to take him to a trial. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, he was so positive. And I think that openness has meant that we talk about Neil every day in general chat. Like I want everyone to talk about Neil to me. I want to talk about Neil to other people, and the girls are the same. We just he left me a video saying, "Remember me and go and have a burger once a year and think about me." And I always think about that video of, like, how ridiculous that he would think that I needed to go for a burger to think about him, or that I'm going to do that once a year, have a think about him, like, he's there all the time. I think about him constantly. So, yeah.
I mean, we carry these people with us for forever, and
Yeah.
they live on in all of us,
Yeah.
and everybody whose life Neil touched throughout his time here.
Yeah.
And thank you very much for sharing his story. What would you say to somebody newly facing this challenge, as a partner, as a wife, as a loved one, as a carer, as a mother of children? Is there any advice, Catherine, that you would give?
I think it's like, look after yourself, because you need to do that to be able to look at, from the non-patient side. You need to look after yourself to be able to look after everyone around you. Got a wonderful counsellor who has been with me for years now, 2 years, 3 years. Because if you look after yourself, you can handle more than you think you can handle. You can get yourself through it and get your kids through it and support a partner who's going through it. So, yeah, I'd say my biggest advice is try and look after yourself and surround yourself by lots of people that love you, and friends and family, and you can get through it.
Thank you. I mean, we joke about you've got a wonderful counsellor, but I think therapy is an incredible tool
Yeah.
for both parties, for both the patient and subsequently the carer, partner, loved one, and children should they need it coming through.
Yeah.
Kids are so resilient.
Ridiculous. People ask me all the time, how are the kids doing? And I feel like they're waiting for some big answer. And all I can say is amazing. And they astound me how well they do. You know, me, I do need my weekly therapy, but I wouldn't be without that. And if I was, then I don't think I'd support the kids in the same way.
Yeah, which is wonderful.
Mm.
We come to kind of a gentle close, and there's always something funny that I'd like to end with. I mean, this is a very serious and incredibly sad topic. But is there anything that springs to mind throughout your journey with Neil and his cancer that you look back on that actually kind of makes you roar with laughter, or something funny that comes to mind that you want to share?
Do you know, I feel like you can always find happiness in the worst moments. Like, there's so many. I remember when Neil was really ill and he had so many tumours in his stomach and they made him so hot. And the hospice nurses were coming to the house to help bath him and shower him. And and he was so hot, he was like, can you just take me outside and hose me down? And they were like, I don't think can we? Like, anyway, so he, stripped naked, went into the garden and sat on the chair. And these poor hospice nurses had to go out and literally hose him down. And I was laughing so much at what the neighbours must think, the nurses must think. And you end up laughing at really, really bad times. But yeah, it was it's good.
Yeah, they're happy memories as well. I mean, it does leave a picture in my mind, I've got to be honest. But oh, bless you. Thank you so much for sharing.
You're welcome.
What is an incredible journey and what will be an incredible life moving forward for you, for the girls, and the work that you're doing with Moorfields and the work that you did and continue to do in advocacy with Ocular Melanoma UK, Ocumel, as we were. I mean, tens of thousands of pounds you brought to the charity, which goes towards literally life-saving help in psychological support, and we continue tirelessly to find those cures. And we'll get there. I promise we will get there.
Yeah, I really, really hope you do. We all do, you know.
Yeah, we will. Bless you. Thank you so much, Catherine.
Thank you.
Enjoy the rest of your day.
Same to you. Nice talking to you.
And you. Bye-bye, love. Bye.
Bye.
If you or someone you know has been affected by the topics discussed in this episode, support and information are available. You can visit Ocular Melanoma UK at www.omuk.org for guidance, resources to connect with our helpline, and others who understand. Remember, no one should face ocular melanoma alone.